So the first thing you're going to do is grab your sketchbook and a pen, a pencil, eraser, and just start sketching down some random images that you're drawn to. Credit here goes to 3D student Molly Ryan, who did a really great job brainstorming various items such as fruit, tissue boxes, and a jar of honey. Try and have a free flow thought process. So this is just a live version of me and my thought process. So my first thought was mushrooms, and then I thought Star Wars, Baby Yoda. So you can see that I am using pen, I'm using pencil, I'm erasing. All of that is totally fine. Free flow thought. I move on and think about food. Avocado or fried egg, or plants, a cactus, coffee, tea. It's okay to draw multiple versions of the same thing, but you do have to have at least 10 different themes. Frog, pumpkin, etc. Once you have at least 10 different random things, and then on a separate piece of paper, you're going to see which one you were most drawn to and make 20 different versions of that theme. So mine, for example, is coffee mugs, but yours should be whatever it is you're passionate about, whatever it is you're drawn to, whether that's Star Wars characters or animals or types of food or types of cars. So a common theme, a common thread that you're going to stick with and make 20 variations of. So here, for example, Molly really liked the honey jar, and so on the next page she made a series of honey jars, jam jars, and ultimately the theme is an assortment of jars. Abby sent me some sketches of soda cans and seltzer cans, and I thought what a fabulous and original series, and that she should absolutely go forward with this idea.
Hi friends, how are you? How are you doing? I hope you're well. Let's make some clay stuff together. I've had lots of people ask how I make my little clay friends that I sell in my shop every now and then, and so I figured that I would show you my process. It's a lot of fiddling. There's nothing particularly fancy about it. I don't use any special tools. When it comes to thinking about the shapes of the pins, I think about like the silhouette of the thing that I want to make as opposed to getting too lost in the details. For instance, when I sculpted that little mushroom earlier, I just kind of did the general outline of a mushroom and then making sort of the general outline of like a lemon, and then some of the rectangular shapes are going to be Game Boys or slices of cake. This is stuff that I all keep track of in my head as I'm sculpting, and I'm like, okay, this particular rectangle is going to be a Game Boy, and this other particular rectangle is going to be an envelope. It's easiest to make things that have pretty simple silhouettes, like houses, Game Boys, fruit, usually, because it's usually round. Obviously, you can make anything you want out of your clay friends, but I tend to keep towards things that don't have too many add-ons, that aren't too complicated, that tend to be just like one flat shape. And it's just a lot of rolling out, smoothing the edges down with my finger, filling in little gaps with extra clay, rolling it smooth. And it's just a lot of that until I wind up with a whole little batch of friends that I'm happy with. so much. It turned out so cute. Look, look. I love it. It's so good. And it's so shiny and lovely. It is just such a delight. I use Holbein acrylic gouache and a myriad of little, pretty small paintbrushes. When it comes to painting my pins, I tend to paint them like in batches according to color, and so that way it helps me not waste a bunch of paint. So I will, for instance, I needed this specific brown to paint like on 2 different cake slices, and so I painted both of the icing, or both of the icings on each of the cakes. And I will also paint in batches because you want to make sure that each section of the paint dries before you try and paint another color onto it, of course, or else the colors will blend and it can look kind of like sloppy and messy. The waiting for them to dry part is the hardest because I'm very impatient, but I noticed that if I take my time and I actually wait for everything to dry, everything looks very neat and tidy, and it's very, very lovely. Also, to help the paint move around more, I will often just like add a tiny bit of water. I don't know if you can see it, but you can kind of see how the paint is like, I added too much water to this particular little section. You can see how the paint is kind of like spreading and separating. So I recommend adding, like, dipping your paintbrush in some clean water, just like a little dip before putting it in your gouache, because it just helps it move around more, and it also you just basically get more mileage out of your paint. Usually I will also do 2 coats of gouache on pretty much anything, like for instance on the heart where the gouache is covering like a really large area of solid color. I will usually do 2 coats. I think I forgot to do that on some of my pins. That's normally the thing. So then basically painting pins takes me like a full work day, just because it's a lot of waiting for things to dry. A lot of my pins have like small details. I have to wait for paint to dry so that way I can draw like faces on some of them. But again, it's very therapeutic and quite soothing. It's just very time consuming, but it's really fun to watch this like large batch of kind of white featureless clay blobs turned into these colorful, fun things. And you can see here how I'm turning this little round rectangle into a Game Boy. It's just a matter of leaving a little square blank, and then you have a Game Boy. And then I just paint in the buttons and the D-pad, and then you have a Game Boy. It's great. And then these are little bottles, which was a new design that I was trying. I put roses in them later, and I think they turned out very pretty. It's just fun to make cute, fun things. Just cute, fun things that you know you've made with your hands from beginning to end. It's very satisfying. It's also really fun. I have a couple that I have on my backpack, and people are like, oh my god, I love your pens. And I'm like, thanks, I made them from start to finish.